Hi guys, the night air is still. Far above the dark land, countless stars hang over the wide valley of the Nile. Their pale light falls softly upon quiet water, empty roads, sleeping villages, and fields waiting for another day. The river moves slowly through the darkness. Its surface barely stirs. Along the banks, reeds sway gently whenever a faint breeze drifts across the water. Somewhere in the distance, a frog croaks once and then falls silent again. Most people are asleep. Inside small mud-brick homes, families rest beneath simple linen sheets. Children lie close together. Parents sleep nearby after long hours of work beneath the sun. Clay lamps have burned low. Cooking fires have faded into soft piles of ash. The great monuments that later generations would admire stand quietly beneath the stars. But tonight, we are not beginning with kings. We are not beginning with armies. We are not beginning with treasure. Instead, we begin with something much smaller. Something repeated thousands upon thousands of times. A routine. A rhythm. A way of living that returned each day like the sunrise itself. Because the success of ancient Egypt was not created by a single ruler. It was not built in one season. It did not appear suddenly. It grew from ordinary days. From countless mornings. From tired hands. From people who woke before dawn and followed familiar paths through a world shaped by the river. And so, as the stars slowly wheel overhead, let us drift back into that ancient landscape. Let us walk quietly beside the Nile. Let us follow the people whose routines carried Egypt forward day after day for centuries. The first light of morning appears slowly. The eastern horizon begins to soften. Dark blue becomes pale gray. Gray becomes faint gold. Birds begin to stir among the reeds. The village awakens. One by one, doors open. Sandals touch packed earth. People step outside into cool morning air before the heat arrives. For many families, the day begins long before the sun rises above the horizon. A woman kneels beside a grinding stone. She pours grain into a shallow basin. Then she begins the familiar motion. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The sound is steady and gentle. Grain slowly becomes flour. Nearby, another family begins the same task. And another. And another. Across the village, countless stones scrape softly in the early morning quiet. Bread is the center of daily life. It appears at nearly every meal. Preparing it requires work. The grain must be harvested, carried, stored, ground, mixed, shaped, baked. Every loaf represents many hours of labor. As flour gathers, water is added. Hands knead the dough. The smell of baking soon drifts through narrow village lanes. Small ovens begin to glow. Warm air carries the scent across sleeping courtyards. Children wake. Workers prepare. The day has begun. By now, sunlight touches the tops of distant palms. Golden reflections shimmer across the river. Fishing boats untie from wooden posts. Their owners push gently into the current. The fishermen know these waters well. Most have spent their entire lives upon the Nile. They understand its moods, its seasons, its quiet channels, its hidden sandbanks. The river feeds the kingdom. It carries people and goods. It provides fish. It waters fields. It links distant communities. Without the Nile, Egypt would be a very different place. Even now, in the cool hours before full daylight, the river already shapes the routines of thousands. Some fishermen cast nets. Others lower woven traps. They work patiently. There is little hurry. The river rewards those who understand its rhythm. As boats glide through morning mist, farmers walk toward their fields. Many carry simple tools across their shoulders. Wooden hoes, baskets, ropes. Nothing elaborate. Nothing grand. Yet these tools help support one of the most successful civilizations in history. The fields spread outward from the river. Dark fertile soil lies beneath their feet. This rich earth arrives through annual flooding. Each year, the Nile rises. Water spreads across the land. When it retreats, fresh layers of fertile mud remain behind. Generation after generation learns to work with this cycle. The flood shapes planting. Planting shapes harvest. Harvest shapes survival. A farmer kneels and presses his hand into damp soil. He knows exactly what must be done today. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Today. Egypt's success depends upon countless small decisions like this one. The right seed. The right field. The right moment. The sun rises higher. Warmth begins to spread across the landscape. Workers continue steadily. Oxen pull simple plows. Farmers guide them carefully. Children help where they can. Entire families participate. The labor is repetitive, predictable, necessary. And over centuries, these routines become remarkably efficient. Knowledge passes from parents to children. Not through books. Not through grand speeches. But through daily experience. Hands teaching hands. Eyes watching eyes. Season after season. The morning continues. Along dusty roads, merchants begin traveling toward local markets. Donkeys carry baskets filled with goods. Grain. Vegetables. Fish. Linen. Pottery. The roads are busy but not crowded. Most travel happens slowly. The pace of life follows the limits of feet, animals, boats, and sunlight. Nobody rushes. The day is long. A merchant wipes dust from his forehead. Ahead, he can already hear voices gathering in a market square. Markets are important places. Not only for trade. They are places where information travels. News spreads. Friendships grow. Agreements form. People exchange stories about harvests, weather, family matters, and work. Life flows through these spaces just as surely as water flows through the Nile. By mid-morning, the sun grows stronger. Shadows shorten. Heat settles over fields and roads. Workers adjust naturally. Many tasks continue, but movements become slower. Energy is carefully managed. In Egypt, heat is always a companion. Sometimes gentle. Sometimes overwhelming. People learn to live alongside it. They know when to push harder. They know when to conserve strength. This knowledge becomes part of the routine itself. In one village, a scribe sits beneath partial shade. His writing surface rests upon his lap. His tools are simple. Yet his work is valuable. He records information. Grain deliveries. Labor assignments. Inventories. Taxes. Messages. Records help organize a growing kingdom. Without scribes, many systems become difficult to manage. The scribe dips his brush. Carefully he forms symbols. Each mark carries meaning. Each line contributes to a larger structure of administration that stretches far beyond this village. The work requires concentration, patience, steady hands, Around him, life continues. Children play nearby. Workers pass carrying baskets. Animals wander through patches of shade. The world moves slowly. The scribe continues writing. As the sun climbs toward noon, workshops become busy. Potters shape clay. Carpenters smooth wood. Weavers work at looms. Stone workers chip carefully at blocks. The sounds blend together. A wooden mallet. A spinning wheel. The scrape of tools. The rustle of woven fibers. Nothing dramatic. Just work. Steady work. The kind of work that quietly builds civilizations. Inside one workshop, the air feels warm and dusty. Light enters through a small opening high on the wall. Particles drift lazily through sunbeams. A craftsman pauses briefly to stretch tired shoulders. His hands bear signs of many years spent practicing the same skills. The objects he creates may seem ordinary. A bowl. A jar. A tool. Yet thousands of ordinary objects support daily life. Without them, routines become difficult. The success of Egypt depends not only upon monuments but upon simple things made well. Outside, heat continues building. The afternoon approaches. The desert beyond the fertile valley shimmers beneath sunlight. Distant air seems to ripple. Travel becomes harder. Workers seek shade whenever possible. Trees become valuable resting places. Mudbrick walls hold pockets of coolness. Even animals slow their movements. For many laborers, this is the most exhausting part of the day. Sweat gathers. Muscles ache. Feet grow sore. But work continues. Fields must be tended. Goods must be delivered. Buildings must be maintained. The routine never truly stops. A group of workers sits briefly beside a canal. They share bread. Perhaps some onions. Perhaps dried fish. The meal is simple. Yet after hours of labor, it provides comfort. They speak quietly. The conversation is unremarkable. Weather. Family. Work. The same topics discussed countless times before. And somehow, within these ordinary moments, a society holds together. The afternoon drifts onward. The Nile glitters beneath bright sunlight. Boats continue their journeys. Some carry grain. Some carry stone. Some carry passengers traveling between settlements. The river is never entirely still. Its movement connects communities separated by distance. A person living far to the south may never meet someone living far to the north. Yet both depend upon the same water. The same annual flood. The same routines. The same river. As shadows begin lengthening once more, the worst heat slowly eases. A breeze arrives from the water. People notice immediately. Shoulders relax. Movements become easier. Children run through village paths. Animals become more active. The day begins its gradual journey toward evening. And throughout the valley, countless workers continue following routines learned long ago, routines that quietly support one of history's most enduring civilizations. The sun lowers a little more. Golden light spreads across the fields. The river glows softly. And somewhere beyond the next village, another ordinary day unfolds much like this one. A day built not upon glory, but upon repetition. Upon patience. Upon work completed one task at a time. The same rhythm will continue tomorrow. And the day after that. And for generations yet to come. The golden light of late afternoon stretches across the valley. Long shadows drift over narrow paths worn smooth by generations of footsteps. The heat that pressed heavily upon the land throughout the middle of the day slowly begins to loosen its grip. A softer breeze moves in from the Nile, carrying the scent of damp earth and river reeds. People notice the change immediately. Shoulders straighten. Voices become a little easier. Work that felt exhausting beneath the midday sun now feels more manageable. The village remains busy, but there is a different feeling in the air. The hardest hours are passing. Farmers continue moving through their fields. Some inspect young crops. Others repair small irrigation channels. Water must be guided carefully. Every drop matters. A blocked channel can affect an entire section of farmland. A damaged bank can waste precious water. These tasks may seem small, yet they are part of the great routine that supports life along the Nile. A man kneels beside a narrow canal. His hands are coated with wet mud. Slowly, he presses loose earth into place. The work is not complicated. It does not require special tools. It simply requires attention. And attention, repeated every day, becomes one of the hidden foundations of Egypt's success. Nearby, another worker checks wooden gates that help direct water into different fields. He knows their condition without needing to think about it. His hands have touched these same pieces of wood countless times before. The motions are familiar. Almost automatic. Many people in Egypt spend their lives becoming experts in routines. Not because they seek greatness, but because their survival depends upon understanding the details of ordinary work. The river itself encourages this way of life. The Nile rewards patience. It rewards observation. It rewards those who notice small changes. A slight difference in water level. A shift in soil. A change in the behavior of birds. Generations learn to watch carefully. And over centuries, this careful attention becomes a form of wisdom. Along the riverbank, fishermen continue their labor. Their boats drift quietly across the shining water. The afternoon light reflects from the surface in soft waves of gold. Some fishermen pull in their nets. Others prepare for evening fishing. A few sit silently while waiting for movement beneath the water. The river teaches patience as well. A fisherman cannot force a catch. He waits. He watches. He learns. Many of these lessons pass from father to son. From grandfather to grandson. Stories are shared during long hours on the water. Techniques are demonstrated rather than explained. Knowledge flows naturally through generations, much like the river itself. As the afternoon deepens, activity grows in the workshops. This is often a productive time. The heat is less severe. Light remains strong. Workers focus on tasks requiring precision. Inside a pottery workshop, several craftsmen shape clay upon simple wheels. The clay feels cool beneath their fingers. Their movements are steady and practiced. A slight pressure changes the shape. A careful touch smooths the surface. One mistake can ruin hours of work. But mistakes happen. They are accepted as part of the process. The potter simply begins again. Nearby, rows of finished vessels wait to dry. Some are large enough to store grain. Others are intended for water, oil, or beer. Many appear plain. Simple forms. Simple functions. Yet each vessel serves an important purpose within daily life. A civilization depends upon storage. Upon transport. Upon preserving food and supplies. Even the most ordinary jar contributes to a much larger system. Elsewhere, weavers sit before wooden looms. The rhythmic sounds of weaving fill the room. Thread passes back and forth. Patterns slowly emerge. The work requires concentration. Hours pass quietly. Many workers speak very little while weaving. The repetitive motion becomes almost meditative. Outside, the village streets remain active. Merchants return from markets. Donkeys carry lighter loads now. Goods have been sold. Trades have been completed. Conversations continue as people walk home. The marketplace itself begins to change. Morning energy has faded. Stalls gradually close. Unsold items are gathered. Baskets are lifted. Shade structures are dismantled. The day's business draws toward its end. Children help their parents whenever possible. A young boy carries a bundle of reeds. A girl helps stack pottery. Another child follows behind a donkey carrying empty baskets. These small responsibilities introduce children to the routines they will follow throughout adulthood. Learning rarely takes place in formal settings. Instead, it happens through participation. Children observe. They imitate. They assist. Day after day. Year after year. Gradually, knowledge becomes part of them. The village itself reflects this process. Every generation inherits certain skills, certain expectations, certain rhythms of life. Nothing needs to be written down. The routine lives within the community. As evening approaches, the smell of food begins appearing once more. Cooking fires are lit. Thin streams of smoke rise into the warm air. The scent of baking bread drifts through narrow lanes. Vegetables simmer in clay pots. Fish cooks over simple flames. People return home carrying the fatigue of a long day. Their muscles ache. Their feet are dusty. Their clothing bears signs of labor. Yet there is comfort in returning home. A small mud brick house may seem humble. But after hours beneath the sun, its walls offer welcome shelter. Inside one home, a woman kneels beside an oven. The fire glows softly. Orange light flickers across the room. She carefully removes flat loaves of bread. The smell fills the air. Children gather nearby. They have been waiting. Meals are important moments. Not only because they provide nourishment, but because they bring families together. The day's work pauses. Conversation begins. Stories are shared. Questions are asked. Plans are discussed. Many discussions revolve around practical matters. Fields. Animals. Harvests. Repairs. Upcoming work. The future is often measured in seasons rather than years. Life follows the agricultural calendar. Planting. Growing. Harvesting. Flooding. The cycle repeats endlessly. Outside, the sky changes color. Gold becomes orange. Orange becomes deep red. The sun slowly descends toward the western horizon. Its light washes across the Nile. For a few moments, the river seems almost made of fire. Boats become dark silhouettes. Palm trees stand motionless against the glowing sky. The beauty of evening is familiar to everyone. People have witnessed it thousands of times. Yet it remains quietly remarkable. Workers often pause for a moment. Not because they are seeking beauty, but because the day naturally slows. The landscape invites reflection. As darkness approaches, activity begins shifting once again. Some labor ends. Other tasks begin. Night has its own routines. Its own responsibilities. Its own rhythm. A fisherman may prepare for evening work. A guard may begin his watch. A baker may prepare dough for the next morning. The cycle never truly stops. It simply changes form. Along larger settlements near the river, scribes continue working by fading light. Records must be completed. Inventories checked. Deliveries noted. Administration requires constant attention. The kingdom functions because countless records are maintained with care. Most people never meet high officials. Many never see a royal palace. Yet administrative systems influence their daily lives. Grain collection, labor organization, construction projects. All depend upon information moving accurately through networks of scribes and officials. In one room, a young apprentice watches an older scribe at work. The apprentice studies every movement. The way the brush is held. The pace of writing. The careful arrangement of records. Learning requires patience. Mastery arrives slowly. Years may pass before a student becomes fully skilled. Egypt rewards those willing to practice the same task repeatedly. This pattern appears everywhere. In farming, in fishing, in weaving, in construction, in writing. Routine is not merely part of life. Routine is life. The sun finally disappears beyond the horizon. A gentle twilight settles across the valley. Temperatures continue falling. The air becomes pleasant. People emerge from homes. Neighbors speak together. Children play for a little longer before sleep. The stars begin appearing overhead. One by one. Quietly. The same stars that guided travelers, farmers, and fishermen for generations. Without modern lights, the night sky feels immense. Deep. Endless. Many people spend time outdoors during these cooler hours. Courtyards fill with conversation. Families sit together beneath the stars. The day's heat lingers within walls, but outside, the air feels comfortable. For a short time, there is space to rest. To breathe. To simply exist without rushing toward the next task. An elderly man tells a story he has shared many times before. Children listen. Perhaps they have heard it dozens of times. Yet they remain attentive. Stories connect generations. They carry memories. Lessons. Traditions. Knowledge moves through spoken words just as surely as goods move along the river. Meanwhile, the Nile continues flowing through the darkness. Its waters never stop. Even while villages rest. Even while fields stand silent. The river moves steadily onward. Somewhere downstream, fishermen work beneath moonlight. Elsewhere, boats continue traveling. A distant dog barks. Then silence returns. Night deepens. Families prepare for sleep. Beds are simple. Many consist of woven frames or mats. Comfort is modest. Yet exhaustion helps. After long hours of labor, sleep often arrives quickly. Inside mudbrick homes, people settle into familiar places. The sounds of the village gradually fade. Conversations grow quieter. Fires burn lower. Children drift into dreams. Parents follow soon after. Outside, stars fill the sky. The air remains still. The village rests. And as sleep spreads across the valley, tomorrow waits patiently beyond the darkness. Another sunrise. Another journey to the fields. Another trip upon the river. Another day of grinding grain, repairing canals, weaving cloth, recording harvests, carrying baskets, shaping pottery, and tending animals. Nothing extraordinary. Nothing dramatic. Just thousands of ordinary people following routines refined over generations. And somehow, through those ordinary days, Egypt continues to grow. The monuments may endure for ages. The names of rulers may be carved into stone. But beneath every monument, beneath every temple, beneath every royal achievement, there remains something quieter. The steady rhythm of daily life. The work of people whose names are mostly forgotten. The farmers rising before dawn. The fishermen watching the water. The bakers tending their ovens. The laborers returning home beneath evening stars. Their routines continue tomorrow. And with the first pale light of another morning, the valley will awaken once again. Before the sun returns, before the first birds begin their morning calls, the Nile Valley rests beneath a blanket of darkness. The stars remain bright. Their reflections shimmer softly upon the river. The world feels still. Yet even now, life quietly continues. Somewhere along the riverbank, a boatman adjusts a rope securing his vessel. In another village, a baker wakes early to prepare the day's bread. A guard shifts his weight and looks out across a sleeping settlement. Most people remain asleep. Their breathing is slow. Their homes are silent. But the routines that shape Egypt are already beginning once more. The air before dawn feels different from any other time of day. It is cooler, gentler. The desert heat has retreated for a few precious hours. Many workers value these moments deeply. Soon the sun will return. Soon the labor will begin. For now, there is calm. A faint gray line appears along the eastern horizon. Night slowly loosens its hold. Shapes emerge from the darkness. Palm trees become visible. Mud brick walls take form. The river gains a soft silver glow. The day begins again. Inside a small house, a family wakes. The room is simple. Its walls are made from mud mixed with straw and shaped by hand many years before. The floor is packed earth. A few woven baskets rest near the wall. Clay jars hold grain and water. Everything inside serves a purpose. There is little room for unnecessary things. Life depends upon practicality. A woman rises first. She moves quietly through the room. Soon she is preparing grain. The familiar sound of grinding stone returns. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The motion has become part of her body through years of repetition. She barely needs to think about it. Nearby, a child slowly wakes and watches the morning begin. Outside, other homes are coming to life as well. The village fills with gentle sounds. Doors opening. Voices greeting neighbors. Animals stirring. The crackle of small cooking fires. The smell of bread begins drifting through the air. For thousands of years, mornings like this have repeated along the Nile. One generation replaces another. Children become adults. Adults become elders. Yet many parts of daily life remain remarkably familiar. The routine continues because it works. The first sunlight reaches the tops of distant trees. Golden light spreads across the fields. Workers gather tools. Farmers prepare for another long day. The fields are never completely finished. There is always something to repair. Something to plant. Something to harvest. Something to carry. The work changes with the seasons, but work itself never disappears. A farmer walks beside an irrigation channel. He studies the water carefully. The Nile has always demanded attention. Too little water can damage crops. Too much water can create different problems. Balance matters. Experience matters. Patience matters. These lessons are learned slowly, often over an entire lifetime. The farmer pauses and kneels beside the canal. His hands touch damp soil. He notices details others might miss. The shape of the bank, the movement of water, the condition of nearby plants. Such observations may seem small, yet countless small observations help determine the success of a harvest. And harvests determine whether communities prosper. The great strength of Egypt is not simply the river itself. It is the knowledge people develop while living beside it. Knowledge passed quietly from one generation to the next. Knowledge built from observation, from memory, from routine. As sunlight grows stronger, activity increases throughout the valley. Boats begin moving across the water. Their wooden hulls glide through the current with gentle ease. Some vessels transport goods. Others carry workers. Some move grain toward storage facilities. Others bring supplies to distant settlements. The river functions like a living road. Travel by water is often easier than travel across land. Dusty roads can be difficult. Heat can be exhausting. The river provides a smoother path. A merchant stands aboard a small boat loaded with baskets. He watches the shoreline drift past. Villages appear and disappear. Fields stretch beside the water. Farmers move slowly through the morning light. Life unfolds everywhere along the river. Different communities. Different families. Yet many routines remain surprisingly similar. The merchant knows this. He has traveled enough to recognize the patterns. Bread baking in the morning. Farmers entering fields. Children carrying water. Fishermen preparing nets. The rhythm repeats across the valley. Farther inland, construction work is already underway. Not every construction project involves temples or monuments. Many involve ordinary buildings. Storehouses. Homes. Workshops. Walls. Infrastructure requires constant maintenance. Mudbrick structures need repair. Wooden beams eventually wear down. Roofs must be maintained. A group of laborers carries baskets filled with mud. Their pace is steady. The work is physical and demanding. Yet it follows familiar patterns. Tasks are divided. Materials are prepared. Repairs are completed one section at a time. There is satisfaction in visible progress. A damaged wall becomes strong again. A roof becomes secure. A building gains new life. The labor may not be remembered by future generations, but it matters deeply to the people living there now. As the morning advances, workshops begin filling with activity. The sounds of production spread through the village. Potters shape clay. Weavers work their looms. Carpenters smooth wooden surfaces. Metal workers tend small furnaces. The air grows warm. Dust floats through beams of sunlight. Tools move steadily in practiced hands. Many craftsmen begin learning their trade as children. Years of repetition create skill. Skill creates confidence. Confidence creates efficiency. By adulthood, movements often appear effortless. A potter shapes a vessel almost without looking. A weaver adjusts thread with remarkable precision. A carpenter measures by instinct. Such abilities are not gifts. They are the result of countless ordinary days. Days spent practicing. Days spent learning. Days spent making mistakes and trying again. Egypt's success rests upon this quiet accumulation of knowledge. Not only among rulers. Not only among scribes, but among ordinary workers everywhere. As the sun climbs higher, markets begin filling once more. Merchants arrange goods carefully. Fresh fish glisten in baskets. Vegetables are stacked neatly. Pottery catches the light. Bundles of linen await customers. Voices fill the air. Conversations overlap. The market becomes a center of movement and exchange. People arrive not only to trade. They come to gather information. To meet friends. To hear news. A farmer may learn about conditions in another village. A merchant may hear rumors of future opportunities. A craftsman may discover demand for a certain product. Information travels through conversation. And conversation flourishes wherever people gather. The market also reveals the diversity of labor supporting society. Every item for sale represents someone's effort. Someone planted the grain. Someone caught the fish. Someone shaped the pottery. Someone wove the cloth. Every object carries a hidden story of work. Most of these stories are never recorded. Yet together they form the true foundation of daily life. The morning slowly gives way to midday. The sun now stands high above the valley. Its heat becomes difficult to ignore. Shadows shrink. The air feels heavier. People naturally adjust their pace. Tasks requiring intense physical effort may pause briefly. Workers seek shade whenever possible. Trees become gathering places. Courtyards provide relief. Mud-brick buildings help shield people from the worst heat. A group of laborers sits beneath a patch of shade. Their meal is simple. Bread. Perhaps onions. Perhaps dates. Maybe some dried fish. The food is not elaborate. But after hours of work, it feels satisfying. Conversation drifts lazily between them. No one speaks loudly. The heat encourages calm. A man drinks water and stares toward the river. Another stretches tired legs. Someone else simply enjoys a few moments of rest. These pauses matter. Life in ancient Egypt requires endurance. The climate demands respect. Workers learn to manage their energy carefully. Pushing too hard can bring exhaustion. Experience teaches balance. Across the valley, similar scenes unfold. Farmers rest briefly beside canals. Boatmen pause beneath shade structures. Craftsmen wipe sweat from their foreheads and continue their tasks. The day moves forward at its own pace. Unhurried. Steady. Reliable. Above everything, the sun shines brightly. Its presence shapes nearly every aspect of life. Work schedules. Building designs. Clothing choices. Sleeping habits. People adapt to the environment because they must. And over centuries, those adaptations become tradition. As afternoon slowly approaches, activity begins increasing once more. The most intense heat gradually eases. Workers return fully to their tasks. The village resumes its familiar rhythm. The Nile continues flowing beside them. Constant. Patient. Enduring. Just as it has for countless generations before. And all across the valley, ordinary people continue following routines so familiar they rarely think about them. Yet these routines are quietly building something remarkable. Not in a single day. Not in a single year. But through thousands upon thousands of mornings, afternoons, and evenings linked together like gentle currents in the river. The same river that now glitters beneath the afternoon sun. The same river that will still be flowing when darkness returns. And when evening arrives once more, the valley will begin another slow transition toward rest, carrying with it the fatigue, satisfaction, and quiet persistence of another day lived along the Nile. The afternoon settles gently over the Nile Valley. The bright intensity of midday begins to soften, though warmth still hangs in the air. The earth radiates heat gathered throughout the day. Mud brick walls feel warm to the touch. Stone pathways hold traces of sunlight. The river reflects a sky that has begun its slow journey toward evening. For many workers, these hours require patience. The day is not yet ending. There is still work to complete. Fields must be checked. Tools must be gathered. Animals must be guided home. Deliveries must be finished before darkness arrives. The routines continue. A farmer walks carefully along the edge of a field planted with grain. The crop sways gently whenever the breeze moves through it. The sight is comforting. Months of labor stand before him. Months of preparation. Months of waiting. A harvest begins long before grain is ready to cut. It begins with planning. With watching the river. With preparing soil. With repairing irrigation channels. With countless small decisions that often go unnoticed. The farmer pauses. He studies the field quietly. Perhaps he notices a section growing especially well. Perhaps he sees signs that one area needs more attention. Such observations are part of his daily life. The land speaks in small ways. Experienced farmers learn how to listen. Not with words, but with careful eyes. Nearby, a younger worker follows behind. He watches everything. The older man's movements. His decisions. His habits. Learning rarely arrives through long explanations. Instead, it arrives through observation. Through repetition. Through years spent working beside those who already understand the rhythms of the land. Knowledge moves slowly. Like water entering a field. Yet over time, it reaches everywhere. Farther along the Nile, boats continue their steady journeys. The afternoon light dances upon the water. Wooden vessels glide quietly between villages. Some carry baskets filled with grain. Others transport clay jars. Some move building materials. Others carry passengers traveling for work or family obligations. The river is never truly empty. Its surface remains alive with movement. A boatman stands near the stern of his vessel. His hands rest comfortably upon a steering oar polished smooth by years of use. He knows every bend of this section of river. Every shallow area. Every hidden sandbank. Every place where currents behave differently. The knowledge lives within him. Not written. Not measured. Simply remembered. His father knew these waters. His grandfather knew them too. The river teaches those who spend enough time listening. And generations of boatmen have listened carefully. Along the shoreline, fishermen inspect nets drying beneath the sun. The woven fibers require maintenance. A small tear today can become a larger problem tomorrow. Many evening hours are spent repairing equipment. A fisherman sits cross-legged in the shade. Patiently, he mends damaged sections. His fingers move with practiced ease. The work is repetitive. Yet there is something peaceful about repetition. The same motion. The same careful attention. The same quiet focus. Much of life in ancient Egypt follows this pattern. Tasks repeated so often that they become part of the landscape itself. The sound of grinding grain. The splash of water against a boat. The scrape of a carpenter's tool. The rustle of linen on a loom. These sounds form the background music of daily life. Inside a weaving workshop, the rhythm continues. Several workers sit before wooden looms. The air is warm but manageable now. Sunlight enters through narrow openings. Dust floats lazily through the room. Thread moves back and forth. Patterns slowly emerge. Hours pass. The work demands concentration. Mistakes are costly. Yet experienced weavers rarely rush. Their pace remains steady. Reliable. Each completed piece of cloth represents many hours of effort. The growing of flax. The preparation of fibers. The spinning of thread. The weaving itself. Every stage requires time. And time is one of the most valuable resources in Egypt. Not because people speak of it often, but because so much depends upon using it wisely. The annual flood waits for no one. Planting seasons arrive on schedule. Harvests must be completed when ready. The calendar of nature shapes every aspect of life. As afternoon gradually deepens, activity continues in the workshops of scribes. The work of writing often appears less physically demanding than farming or construction. Yet it brings its own challenges. Long hours. Careful concentration. Endless attention to detail. A scribe sits in partial shade. His brush moves steadily across a prepared writing surface. Records fill the page. Numbers. Names. Measurements. Deliveries. Allocations. The information may seem ordinary. But ordinary information keeps systems functioning. Someone must know how much grain has been collected. Someone must track supplies. Someone must record labor assignments. Administration grows from thousands of small records. The scribe understands this. His work may not involve heavy lifting. Yet accuracy matters greatly. One mistake can create confusion far beyond this small room. Nearby, an apprentice observes. The apprentice practices symbols repeatedly. Again and again. Mistakes are corrected. Techniques are refined. Learning requires patience. Much like farming. Much like fishing. Much like weaving. Every skill in Egypt rewards persistence. As shadows slowly lengthen, villages begin preparing for evening. The transition is gradual. No signal announces it. People simply feel it. The changing angle of sunlight. The cooling air. The growing awareness that the day is moving toward rest. Children become more visible in village lanes. Some carry small baskets. Others help gather animals. A few play games before evening chores begin. Their laughter drifts through the streets. For a brief time, the weight of labor lifts. The village feels lighter. Older residents sit near doorways. They watch activity unfold around them. Many have spent decades following the same routines. Their bodies bear evidence of long years of work. Strong hands. Weathered skin. Slow but deliberate movements. They have seen floods come and go. Harvests succeed and fail. Children grow into adults. Life continue its steady course. And through it all, routine remains. Not because life lacks change, but because routine provides stability when change inevitably arrives. A woman walks toward the river carrying clay jars. Water must be collected for the evening. Others are already there. The riverbank becomes a place of quiet gathering. People exchange greetings. Brief conversations unfold. Nothing urgent. Nothing dramatic. Simple human connection at the end of a working day. The Nile reflects the sky above. Its surface glows softly. Birds move across the water. Reeds sway gently in the breeze. The scene feels timeless. Perhaps it looked much the same centuries earlier. Perhaps it will look much the same centuries later. The river continues its patient journey. Never hurried. Never still. Back in the village, cooking fires begin appearing once more. Thin ribbons of smoke rise into the air. The smell of baking bread returns. It is one of the most familiar scents in Egypt. Warm. Comforting. Reliable. For many families, bread forms the center of the evening meal just as it does every other meal. A household gathers around simple food. Bread. Vegetables. Dates. Fish when available. The meal may seem modest. Yet after a day of labor, it provides welcome satisfaction. People eat slowly. Conversations unfold naturally. Family matters are discussed. Work for tomorrow is considered. Small concerns are shared. The evening meal creates a pause within the rhythm of life. A chance to rest before darkness deepens. As the sun lowers toward the western horizon, golden light spreads across the valley. Fields glow softly. Palm trees cast long shadows. The Nile becomes a ribbon of gold. Workers returning home walk through dust illuminated by the fading light. The scene feels calm. Peaceful. Earned. A day of labor is drawing to a close. But even now, some work continues. In larger settlements, bakers prepare for the following morning. Dough is mixed. Ovens are checked. Supplies are organized. Elsewhere, guards prepare for their night watches. Boatmen secure vessels. Animals are fed and sheltered. Every ending contains the beginning of another day. The cycle never truly stops. It simply turns. The sun touches the horizon. Its light softens further. Orange and gold spread across the sky. The temperature falls gradually. People breathe easier. The oppressive heat of midday feels distant now. A cool breeze arrives from the river. Children linger outdoors a little longer. Neighbors speak quietly. The pace of life slows. Above the eastern horizon, the first stars begin appearing. Small points of light. Ancient companions. The same stars watched by generations before. The same stars that guided travelers along desert roads and river channels. The same stars that watched over farmers sleeping after long days in the fields. Darkness approaches gently. No sudden change. Only a gradual fading of daylight. The valley settles. Voices grow softer. Movements become fewer. Cooking fires burn lower. The Nile reflects the first lights of the night sky. And as evening slowly wraps itself around the villages and fields, Egypt enters another quiet chapter of its endless routine. A routine built not by kings alone. Not by monuments alone. But by ordinary people carrying out familiar tasks beneath the same sky, beside the same river, day after day, year after year. The stars continue emerging overhead. The air grows cooler. And the ancient valley prepares itself for another peaceful night beside the Nile. Night settles fully across the Nile Valley. The last traces of daylight have faded beyond the western horizon. The warm colors of sunset are gone now, replaced by deep shades of blue and black. Above, countless stars fill the sky. Their light reflects gently upon the slow-moving river, turning the surface into a field of tiny shimmering points. The air feels different at night. The heat that dominated the day has softened. A cool breeze drifts across the water and moves through the villages. It slips between mud-brick walls and across quiet courtyards. People who spent the day working beneath the sun welcome these hours. For a little while, the world feels lighter. Many families remain awake. Not for work. Not for labor. Simply to enjoy the comfort of evening. Outside one home, several generations sit together in a small courtyard. The cooking fire glows softly nearby. Shadows dance against the walls. A clay lamp provides a gentle circle of light. The day's work is finished. Tools have been put away. Animals are resting. Fields stand silent beneath the stars. Now there is time for conversation. An older woman speaks about harvests from many years ago. A younger man listens while repairing a simple basket. Children sit nearby, fighting sleep but determined to remain awake a little longer. The voices are calm. No one rushes. The rhythm of the day has slowed to its quietest pace. Throughout Egypt, similar scenes unfold. Families gather. Neighbors exchange stories. Friends sit together in the cooling air. The routine of work gives way to the routine of rest. Both are equally important. A person cannot labor forever. Even the strongest farmer requires sleep. Even the most skilled craftsman must eventually set aside his tools. The body demands recovery. And so, night becomes a time of restoration. Along the riverbank, the Nile continues its endless movement. The water glides silently through darkness. Moonlight spreads across its surface. The river seems almost magical beneath the night sky. Yet for those who live beside it, the Nile is not a mystery. It is a companion. A provider. A constant presence. People trust the river because they have known it all their lives. Its floods. Its channels. Its seasons. Its gifts. Generations have grown up listening to the sound of water moving through the darkness. The river's voice becomes part of sleep itself. Nearby, a fisherman sits quietly in a small boat. Not everyone rests at night. Some occupations continue after sunset. The fisherman watches the water carefully. His movements are slow and deliberate. The darkness changes familiar surroundings. Landmarks become shadows. The river feels larger. More open. More mysterious. Yet he knows these waters well. Years of experience guide him. He can sense the current. He can read subtle changes upon the surface. He understands where fish may gather during the night. His patience is rewarded not through speed but through observation. Many Egyptian workers learn this lesson. Patience often accomplishes more than rushing. Back in the villages, clay lamps flicker inside homes. The light they provide is modest. Small pools of warmth surrounded by darkness. People use light carefully. Fuel requires effort to gather. Nothing is wasted. A family shares a final meal before sleep. Bread remains at the center of the table. Simple foods accompany it. The meal is not large. Tomorrow's labor begins early. People understand the importance of rest. One by one, children begin falling asleep. Their eyes grow heavy. Their conversations become shorter. Eventually, parents guide them towards sleeping places. Simple mats. Woven beds. Linen coverings. Nothing elaborate. Yet after a long day of physical work, comfort comes more from exhaustion than luxury. The body welcomes sleep. Outside, village sounds begin fading. A distant voice. The bark of a dog. The creak of a wooden gate. Then silence gradually returns. The stars appear even brighter now. Without large fires or bright lights, the sky dominates the landscape. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a pale river of its own. People living in Egypt become deeply familiar with the heavens. The stars help mark seasons. They help guide travel. They provide orientation. But beyond practical uses, they also become part of daily experience. Night after night. Year after year. The same patterns appear above. Reliable. Predictable. Comforting. Much like the routines below. In one house, a laborer lies awake for a few moments before sleep arrives. His muscles ache pleasantly from a day of work. His hands are rough. His shoulders tired. Tomorrow will bring more labor. More heat. More responsibility. Yet such thoughts do not trouble him. This is simply life. The rhythm he has always known. The rhythm his parents knew before him. The rhythm his children will likely know as well. Outside his home, the village rests. Mud brick walls hold traces of warmth from the day. The smell of baked bread still lingers faintly in the air. The earth itself seems to be sleeping. Only the occasional breeze disturbs the stillness. Farther north, another village lies beneath the same stars. And farther south, another. And another. Hundreds of communities spread along the river. Different in size. Different in character. Yet connected by remarkably similar routines. The same morning bread. The same fields. The same river. The same cycle of labor and rest. This shared rhythm helps explain something important about Egypt's endurance. Many civilizations experience moments of greatness. Few sustain stability across long stretches of time. Egypt's strength comes partly from consistency. From routines repeated across generations. From systems that become deeply woven into everyday life. The annual flood arrives. Farmers respond. Harvests are gathered. Grain is stored. Food supports communities. Communities support workers. Workers support construction, trade, administration, and countless other activities. Everything connects. Like threads in a woven cloth. Each thread may appear small on its own. Yet together they create something remarkably strong. The night deepens further. Most homes are now quiet. The final lamps begin burning low. Only a few remain awake. A baker prepares ingredients for dawn. A watchman walks slowly through dark streets. A boatman checks his mooring ropes. Elsewhere, travelers rest during a journey along the river. The stars watch over them all. Time moves differently at night. Hours seem softer. Longer. The pace of life slows almost completely. And in this quiet, one can better appreciate how much of Egypt's success depends not upon dramatic events but upon ordinary repetition. A canal repaired before it breaks. A field planted at the right moment. A net carefully mended. A loaf of bread baked before sunrise. A record written accurately. A child taught a useful skill. Thousands upon thousands of small actions. None remarkable by themselves. Yet together they sustain an entire civilization. The moon climbs higher. Its pale light spreads across the landscape. Palm trees cast delicate shadows. The river glows softly. Reeds whisper whenever the breeze passes through them. The beauty of the scene is subtle. Nothing demands attention. Everything feels calm. Balanced. Steady. A pair of donkeys sleeps near a wall. Birds rest among branches. Even the insects seem quieter now. The valley has entered its deepest hours of rest. Soon enough, the eastern horizon will begin to lighten again. Another dawn will arrive. Another day of labor will begin. The grinding stones will sound once more. The ovens will warm. Boats will return to the water. Farmers will walk toward their fields. Children will carry water. Merchants will travel dusty roads. The familiar rhythm will continue. For now, however, none of that has happened yet. The Nile Valley sleeps. The river flows gently through the darkness. The stars remain bright overhead. And beneath that vast ancient sky, countless ordinary people rest peacefully, gathering strength for another day in the long and quiet routine that helped Egypt flourish beside the Nile. The deepest hours of the night pass quietly over the Nile Valley. The stars remain steady above the dark landscape. Their light shines upon fields, villages, canals, and riverbanks that have fallen almost completely silent. The sounds of labor are gone. The markets are empty. The workshops are still. Only the Nile continues moving. It flows through the darkness as it always has. Patient. Unhurried. Endless. A cool breeze drifts across the water and slips gently through the sleeping settlements. Palm fronds rustle softly. Reeds bend and straighten along the river's edge. Somewhere far away, a night bird calls once before silence returns. Most people are asleep now. Their homes rest quietly beneath the stars. Inside one small mud brick house, a family sleeps close together. The day's warmth still lingers in the walls. Woven mats cover the floor. A clay jar stands near the doorway. Baskets filled with grain wait for the coming days. Everything is calm. Everything is still. Yet even while the valley sleeps, tomorrow is slowly approaching. The eastern horizon remains dark, but time continues moving forward. Eventually, the first faint signs of morning begin to appear. Not sunlight. Not yet. Only the slightest change in the darkness. The sky begins to soften. The stars closest to the horizon slowly fade. The world prepares itself for another day. Long before sunrise, some workers are already awake. A baker steps into the cool pre-dawn air. The village around him remains mostly silent. His sandals press softly against the packed earth. He moves toward his oven. Soon the first fire of the day will be lit. This work begins early because bread must be ready when the village awakens. Bread is not simply food. It is part of the daily rhythm. A routine so familiar that few people stop to think about it. Every morning begins with grain transformed through labor. The baker kneels beside his oven. He checks the fuel. Adjusts the arrangement of wood. Then waits as the first flames begin to grow. The firelight flickers against nearby walls. Orange light dances in the darkness. The smell of smoke rises into the cool air. Elsewhere, another worker begins his day. A boatman walks toward the river. The Nile appears almost silver beneath the fading stars. His vessel waits quietly along the shore. The ropes are checked. Supplies are inspected. Everything is done carefully. Small mistakes can become larger problems later. Experience has taught him that preparation matters. Many Egyptian routines focus on preparation. Preparing fields. Preparing tools. Preparing food. Preparing boats. Success often depends upon work completed before the main task even begins. As dawn slowly approaches, more people begin waking. Small points of light appear throughout the village. Clay lamps glow behind doorways. Faint voices drift through the air. Children stir from sleep. Animals begin moving within their shelters. The village is waking one household at a time. Soon the familiar sounds return. Grinding stones. Opening doors. Footsteps. The crackling of cooking fires. The beginning of another ordinary day. The first sunlight finally touches the horizon. A narrow band of gold appears in the east. The Nile reflects it immediately. The water brightens. The sky grows lighter. Shadows retreat. Morning arrives gently. No sudden transformation. Only a gradual return of light. Birds begin singing among the reeds. Their calls echo softly across the water. Fishermen prepare nets. Farmers gather tools. Children help with morning chores. The routine begins once more. A woman kneels beside a grinding stone. The movement is familiar. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The sound has echoed through Egyptian villages for countless generations. It is one of the most common sounds in daily life. The grain slowly becomes flour. The flour will become dough. The dough will become bread. The bread will provide energy for another day of labor. Every step connects to the next. Nothing exists in isolation. One task supports another. One worker depends upon countless others. A farmer depends upon bakers. A baker depends upon farmers. Merchants depend upon both. The entire society functions through cooperation shaped by routine. As sunlight spreads across the valley, workers head toward the fields. The air remains pleasant for now. These early hours are precious. The worst heat has not yet arrived. Many farmers try to complete demanding tasks before midday. A group walks together along a narrow path. Their tools rest across their shoulders. Dust rises beneath their sandals. The conversation is quiet. Perhaps they discuss water levels. Perhaps they talk about crops. Perhaps they simply enjoy the calm of morning. Ahead of them, the fields stretch across the fertile land beside the river. Dark soil waits beneath the growing sunlight. The annual flood has shaped this landscape for thousands of years. Without the flood, these fields would not exist. Without these fields, the villages would struggle to survive. Everything begins with the river. A farmer pauses beside an irrigation channel. The water moves steadily through the narrow passage. Its journey has been carefully guided. Canals branch outward like veins carrying life across the land. Maintaining them requires constant effort. Mud shifts. Banks erode. Plants grow where they are not wanted. Someone must always be watching. Someone must always be repairing. These tasks rarely attract attention. Yet they are among the most important jobs in the valley. A well-maintained canal can support an entire community. A neglected canal can threaten a harvest. The farmer crouches and examines the flow. Satisfied, he stands and continues his work. Nearby, another group repairs a section of canal wall damaged during recent use. They carry baskets filled with mud. Their hands move steadily. The work is simple but necessary. Such scenes unfold across the valley every day. People maintaining systems that allow life to continue smoothly. As the morning progresses, river traffic increases. Boats move in both directions. Some carry grain harvested from nearby fields. Others transport stone, wood, or pottery. Merchants travel between settlements. Officials move supplies where they are needed. The river serves everyone. Its surface becomes a busy pathway connecting distant communities. A merchant stands aboard a cargo boat loaded with jars. He watches villages pass along the shoreline. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Farmers work in fields. Children run through narrow streets. The sights are familiar. Every journey reveals the same rhythm repeated across the valley. Different faces. Different homes. Yet remarkably similar routines. The merchant has traveled enough to recognize the pattern. Wherever the Nile flows, life follows a shared structure. Morning labor. Midday rest. Evening meals. Nighttime sleep. The cycle repeats. Day after day. Year after year. In a larger settlement, the marketplace begins filling with activity. Merchants arrange goods beneath simple shade structures. Pottery catches the sunlight. Fresh vegetables are stacked neatly. Fish are displayed in woven baskets. Customers arrive gradually. Voices rise. Trades begin. The marketplace becomes a meeting place as much as a center of commerce. People exchange information. News travels through conversation. A farmer learns about conditions in another village. A craftsman hears about demand for certain products. A merchant discovers new opportunities. Information moves through Egypt much like goods move along the river. Steadily. Naturally. Through networks built upon trust and routine. Nearby, scribes begin their work. Records must be maintained. Deliveries noted. Inventories updated. The quiet labor of administration supports the visible labor of farming and trade. A scribe sits beneath partial shade. His writing tools are arranged carefully. Each mark he records becomes part of a larger system stretching far beyond this single village. Accuracy matters. Patience matters. Consistency matters. The same qualities valued in every other profession. As the sun climbs higher, warmth spreads across the landscape once again. The cool freshness of dawn begins fading. Workers continue their tasks. The day gathers momentum. Fields fill with activity. Boats travel steadily. Markets grow busier. Workshops come alive with familiar sounds. And all across the Nile Valley, ordinary people continue following routines that have shaped their world for generations. Not glamorous routines. Not dramatic routines. Simply practical ones. The kind repeated so often they become invisible. Yet these quiet habits form the foundation beneath everything else. Every temple. Every monument. Every achievement. Every moment of stability. They all rest upon the daily efforts of countless workers who rise each morning, walk familiar paths, and perform familiar tasks beside the river that sustains them. The sun continues climbing. The valley brightens. The day unfolds once more. And the endless rhythm of ancient Egypt carries on beneath the warm and growing light. The morning continues to unfold across the Nile Valley. The sun rises steadily higher, spreading warm light across fields, villages, workshops, and riverbanks. The coolness of dawn slowly fades. Shadows shorten. The air begins to carry the first hints of the day's heat. Yet for now, work continues comfortably. This is often one of the most productive parts of the day. Workers move with purpose. Farmers bend over rows of crops. Boatmen guide vessels along the river. Craftsmen focus on their tasks. Children assist wherever they can. The valley feels alive, but never hurried. Life moves at a pace shaped by nature rather than clocks. People judge the passing hours by the position of the sun, the length of shadows, and the familiar rhythm of their routines. A farmer walks slowly through a field of barley. The plants rustle softly as he passes. The sound blends with distant bird calls and the gentle movement of water in nearby canals. He studies the crop carefully. Every field tells a story. The color of the plants. The condition of the soil. The presence of insects. The moisture beneath the surface. These details matter. A successful harvest depends upon noticing small changes before they become larger problems. Many years of experience have trained his eyes. He sees things a younger worker might miss. Nearby, a son follows behind his father. He watches. He listens. He learns. The lessons are rarely formal. There is no classroom, no written guide. Knowledge passes through daily life. The older man points toward a section of the field. A brief explanation follows. The younger worker nods. Tomorrow he may notice the same thing himself. Eventually he will teach someone else. And so the knowledge continues its quiet journey across generations. Along another section of the river, fishermen haul in their morning catch. Their nets emerge from the water dripping and heavy. The work requires strength. Several men pull together. Slowly. Patiently. The river offers its gifts, but never without effort. Fish flash briefly in the sunlight before being sorted into baskets. The fishermen know their work well. Some have spent nearly every day of their lives upon the water. The river feels as familiar to them as village streets feel to others. Its sounds, its smells, its changing moods. They understand them all. One fisherman pauses for a moment and looks across the water. The surface sparkles beneath the growing sunlight. Reeds sway along the shore. A heron stands motionless in the shallows. The scene feels peaceful, ancient, timeless. The fisherman returns to his task. The day moves onward. In the villages, ovens continue producing bread. The scent drifts through narrow streets. Warm and comforting. One of the most familiar smells in Egypt. A baker carefully removes fresh loaves from an oven. Heat radiates from the opening. The bread is stacked nearby to cool. Soon it will be carried to homes, markets, and work sites. Food must reach people before the hottest hours arrive. Many laborers eat simple meals while working. Bread accompanies nearly everything. It is reliable, filling, practical. A civilization built upon agriculture naturally places great importance upon grain. The growing of grain shapes entire seasons. The storing of grain shapes survival. The sharing of grain strengthens communities. Inside a nearby workshop, a carpenter works beneath a shaded roof. The smell of wood fills the air. His tools are worn smooth from years of use. Each mark upon the handle reflects countless hours of labor. The carpenter measures carefully, cuts slowly, adjusts patiently. Speed is less important than precision. A mistake wastes valuable material. And valuable material is never treated carelessly. Wood is useful for many purposes. Furniture, tools, boat components, storage containers, repairs. Every piece has value. The carpenter understands this. His movements remain deliberate, steady, controlled. Outside, the village streets grow busier. Merchants move between homes and marketplaces. Animals carry loads along dusty roads. Children fetch water from communal sources. The sounds of daily life blend together into a gentle rhythm. Footsteps, voices, the creak of wooden wheels, the occasional call of a vendor. Nothing overwhelming. Simply the background music of an ordinary morning. A woman balances a clay jar upon her shoulder as she walks home from the river. The water inside will be used throughout the day. For drinking. For cooking. For cleaning. Water shapes nearly every activity. And because the Nile provides so much of it, life naturally revolves around the river. The river is not merely nearby. It is woven into every routine, every household, every occupation, every season. Its presence is constant. As the morning advances, the marketplace reaches its busiest period. People arrive carrying goods to trade. vegetables harvested earlier that day, fresh fish from the river, baskets, linen, pottery, dates, grain. The variety reflects the many forms of labor taking place throughout the valley. A merchant greets a familiar customer. They have likely met many times before. Trust develops slowly, one transaction at a time. Relationships form through repetition, just as routines do. Much of Egyptian society depends upon familiarity. People know one another. They know who produces quality goods, who keeps promises, who works carefully. Reputation matters. Communities remember. The market itself feels like a living network connecting countless households together. Every purchase reflects someone else's effort. Every sale supports another family. Everything is linked. Not through grand plans, but through daily interactions repeated over many years. Near the edge of the marketplace, a scribe sits recording information. His work continues even amid the activity surrounding him. The brush moves steadily. Symbols appear one after another. Records preserve order. They help communities manage resources. They support trade. They support administration. They help organize labor. Many people passing nearby may not fully understand the details of his work, yet they benefit from it. The smooth functioning of society depends upon countless unseen efforts. This is true everywhere. A repaired canal, a maintained storehouse, an accurate record, a carefully woven basket. Many important tasks receive little attention. Yet without them, daily life becomes more difficult. As the sun climbs toward midday, the heat becomes increasingly noticeable. The air grows heavier. Workers begin adjusting naturally. Movements become slower. Energy is conserved. Experience teaches people how to work with the climate rather than against it. Shade becomes valuable. Trees attract small gatherings of workers taking brief rests. Mud-brick buildings provide relief from direct sunlight. A farmer drinks water while sitting beside an irrigation channel. The sound of flowing water feels soothing. Nearby, others rest quietly. No one speaks much. The heat encourages stillness. For a few moments, the demands of labor pause. The valley seems to exhale. The Nile continues its gentle movement. The water reflects the bright sky above. A boat drifts past in the distance. Birds circle overhead. The landscape appears calm despite the many activities taking place across it. This balance between work and rest has developed over countless generations. People learn when to push forward. They learn when to pause. The rhythm becomes instinctive, a natural response to the environment. In many ways, Egypt's success grows from this ability to adapt. Not through force, not through constant struggle, but through careful cooperation with the land and river. The annual flood arrives. People prepare. The seasons change. People adjust. The sun grows intense. People rest when necessary. Life follows patterns shaped by nature itself. And because those patterns remain remarkably reliable, routines become deeply rooted. The midday hours approach. The brightest part of the day is near. Yet all across the Nile Valley, ordinary workers continue their tasks with quiet determination. Farmers tend fields. Fishermen watch the water. Bakers prepare food. Merchants conduct trade. Scribes maintain records. Craftsmen shape useful objects. Families support one another. Children learn by observing. The routines may appear simple, but together they form a powerful foundation. A foundation strong enough to support villages, cities, temples, trade networks, and generations of people living beside the river. The sun rises higher still. The warmth deepens. The fields shimmer beneath the growing light. And another ordinary day in ancient Egypt continues to unfold, one familiar task at a time, beneath the endless sky above the Nile. The sun stands high above the Nile Valley. Its light pours down across fields, villages, workshops, and riverbanks. The air feels heavier now. Heat rises from the ground in slow, shimmering waves. Distant trees seem to blur slightly against the brightness of the afternoon sky. This is the part of the day that many workers know well. The hours when strength must be used carefully. The hours when patience becomes as important as effort. Across the valley, people adjust naturally to the heat. They have done so all their lives. Their parents did the same. Their grandparents did the same. Generations have learned how to live beneath this powerful sun. A farmer pauses beside an irrigation canal. The water moves quietly through the narrow channel. Its steady flow creates a gentle sound that feels soothing amid the afternoon warmth. He kneels and splashes a little water onto his face. The coolness lasts only a moment, but it is welcome. Nearby, several workers sit beneath the shade of a date palm. Their tools rest beside them. For now, conversation is minimal. The heat encourages silence. They eat simple food. Bread. Dates. Perhaps a few vegetables. Nothing elaborate. Yet the meal provides energy for the remaining hours of work. Up above them, palm leaves sway softly in the breeze coming from the river. The movement creates shifting patterns of light and shadow upon the ground. For a little while, the workers rest. The pause feels earned. The morning has already required many hours of labor. Across Egypt, countless similar scenes unfold. People seeking shade. People conserving strength. People waiting for the afternoon heat to ease. The climate shapes the rhythm of life just as surely as the Nile does. No one can ignore it. Everyone must adapt. Farther along the river, boats continue moving despite the warmth. Trade does not stop. Transport does not stop. The river remains busy. A cargo vessel glides through the sunlight. Its hull creaks softly as it moves with the current. Several men sit beneath a simple canopy made from cloth. The shade is limited, but every bit helps. The boat carries grain toward a larger settlement. Rows of sacks are stacked neatly across the deck. Each sack represents many hours of labor. Planting. Watering. Harvesting. Transporting. Every stage requires effort. A single loaf of bread begins long before it reaches a table. The same is true for nearly everything in Egypt. Every useful object carries a hidden history of work. The river sparkles brilliantly beneath the afternoon sun. Small waves catch the light. Birds move lazily above the water. A fisherman steers his boat toward a familiar section of riverbank. He has worked these waters for years. Perhaps decades. His eyes scan the surface. Watching. Observing. The river rewards those who pay attention. Much of Egyptian life depends upon observation. Farmers observe crops. Scribes observe records. Merchants observe markets. Fishermen observe water. Knowledge grows slowly from countless small observations gathered over time. Inside the villages, activity continues at a gentler pace. Workshop doors remain open to capture any passing breeze. Craftsmen work carefully within shaded interiors. The sounds of labor continue. The scrape of tools. The tapping of wood. The rustle of woven fibers. The turning of pottery wheels. Each sound blends into a quiet rhythm. Inside one weaving workshop, several workers sit before large looms. Their hands move steadily. Thread passes back and forth. The work requires concentration but not haste. A mistake may force hours of correction later. Patience is always faster than carelessness. Sunlight enters through narrow openings near the roof. Dust drifts through the beams of light. The room feels peaceful despite the labor taking place within it. One weaver has performed these same movements for many years. The rhythm feels almost natural now. Her hands know what to do before conscious thought arrives. Practice has transformed effort into habit. And habit has transformed work into routine. Much of Egypt functions because of routines like this. Thousands of people performing familiar tasks with remarkable consistency. Outside, a narrow street lies quiet beneath the afternoon heat. Most movement has slowed. Even animals seek shade whenever possible. A donkey stands beside a wall. Its eyes half closed. Nearby, a dog sleeps beneath a cart. The entire village seems calmer during these hours. The heat encourages stillness. But stillness does not mean inactivity. Important work continues. Only more slowly. More carefully. In a larger administrative center, scribes remain busy. Records continue arriving. Deliveries must be documented. Storage inventories must be updated. Grain quantities must be tracked. The work requires focus. A young apprentice sits beside an experienced scribe. The apprentice watches carefully. Every movement matters. The way the brush is held. The arrangement of records. The pace of writing. The organization of information. These lessons cannot be rushed. Mastery develops over many years. The apprentice understands this. He practices patiently. The experienced scribe once sat exactly where he sits now. Learning the same skills. Making the same mistakes. Following the same path. The transfer of knowledge is one of Egypt's greatest strengths. Experience flows from one generation to the next. Slowly. Naturally. Without interruption. As afternoon progresses, shadows begin growing slightly longer. The change is subtle at first. Almost unnoticeable. Yet people sense it. The day has begun its gradual movement toward evening. The most intense heat is passing. A small breeze travels across the valley. Workers welcome it immediately. A farmer standing in a field feels it against his face. A fisherman notices ripples spreading across the water. A merchant walking along a dusty road lifts his head slightly. The breeze carries the scent of the river. Fresh. Clean. Comforting. The Nile influences not only agriculture and trade. It influences the atmosphere itself. The river brings life. It brings moisture. It brings relief. Villages clustered near its banks benefit from its presence every day. Children emerge once more into the streets. The hottest hours are ending. Their energy returns quickly. Some help with chores. Others carry messages. A few simply enjoy moving through the village after spending time sheltered from the sun. Their footsteps echo softly against mud-brick walls. Their voices drift through the air. Life feels a little more active again. Near a storage building, laborers organize grain deliveries. Large containers must be monitored carefully. Food security depends upon proper storage. The grain gathered during harvest must last until the next cycle. Protection from moisture, pests, and spoilage is essential. Workers inspect supplies regularly. Such tasks rarely attract attention. Yet they are among the most important responsibilities in the kingdom. A successful harvest means little if food is not preserved properly. The laborers understand this. Their work is steady, methodical, reliable. The kind of work that supports entire communities. The afternoon continues softening. The angle of sunlight changes. Golden tones begin appearing across the landscape. Palm trees cast longer shadows. The glare upon the river becomes gentler. People feel their energy returning. Work resumes at a stronger pace. Farmers return fully to their fields. Craftsmen continue projects left unfinished earlier. Merchants prepare for the final hours of trading. The valley enters one of its most pleasant periods. Not quite evening. Not quite afternoon. A peaceful space between the two. The air feels lighter now. More comfortable. Birds become active again along the riverbanks. Fishing boats drift through calm water. The sounds of village life grow slightly louder. The day is not ending yet. But its closing chapters have begun. And all across the Nile Valley, ordinary people continue following familiar routines. The same routines their ancestors followed. The same routines their descendants may one day follow. Quiet habits repeated across generations. Planting, building, writing, weaving, trading, fishing, cooking, resting. Tasks so ordinary they often pass unnoticed. Yet together they create something extraordinary. A civilization able to endure century after century beside the river that shapes every part of its existence. The sun slowly lowers. The shadows lengthen further. The heat continues fading. And the ancient rhythm of Egypt carries gently onward into the approaching evening. The afternoon slowly leans toward evening. Across the Nile Valley, the sunlight grows softer with each passing moment. The harsh brightness of midday has faded. In its place comes a warm golden glow that settles gently upon the land. Fields seem quieter now. The river appears calmer. Even the air feels different. The heat still lingers, but it no longer presses heavily upon every movement. People notice the change without needing to think about it. Bodies that have worked since dawn begin to relax. The hardest part of the day has passed. A farmer stands beside a field and stretches his tired back. Hours of bending, lifting, and walking have left their mark. His sandals are dusty. His hands are rough. Small traces of soil cling to his clothing. The signs of labor are everywhere. Yet there is satisfaction in seeing what has been accomplished. A repaired canal. A tended crop. A completed task. Many achievements in Egypt are small enough to fit inside a single afternoon. But when repeated across an entire valley, day after day, those small achievements become something much larger. Nearby, several workers gather tools that have been scattered across the field throughout the day. Nothing is left behind if it can be avoided. A tool takes time to make. Wood must be shaped. Materials must be gathered. Repairs must be completed when needed. Every useful object represents labor. People treat such things carefully. A wooden handle worn smooth by years of use carries its own quiet history. The same tool may pass from one generation to the next. Its surface shaped by countless hands. As the workers begin their journey home, the fields remain behind them. Rows of crops stretch toward the river. The plants move gently in the breeze. For now, the land rests. Tomorrow the labor will continue. The work is never fully finished. Nature always provides another task. Another season. Another challenge. But for this evening, enough has been done. Along the Nile River, traffic remains steady. Boats glide through water glowing beneath the lowering sun. Their reflections stretch across the surface in long shimmering patterns. The river carries people home. Merchants return from market. Fishermen guide their catches toward shore. Workers travel between settlements. The sound of water against wooden hulls creates a gentle rhythm. Soft splashes. Small waves. The creaking of ropes. These sounds have accompanied life along the Nile for thousands of years. A boatman sits quietly near the stern of his vessel. The day's journey is nearly complete. His face shows signs of long hours spent beneath the sun. Yet his movements remain calm. Unhurried. He has made this journey many times before. The river feels familiar. Like an old companion. Ahead, the shoreline village slowly grows larger. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Children move through narrow streets. The evening routines have already begun. Back on land, the marketplace enters its final hours. The busiest period has passed. Some merchants have already packed their goods. Others continue hoping for one last customer. Voices remain friendly but quieter now. The energy of morning has softened into the calm of evening. A merchant carefully wraps pottery in cloth before placing it into a basket. Nearby, another counts remaining goods. The day's work must be organized before darkness arrives. Nothing is rushed. The rhythm of the market slows naturally. Like the river itself. Gradual. Steady. Predictable. Throughout Egypt, people understand the value of ending the day properly. Tools are cleaned. Supplies are stored. Animals are checked. Loose tasks are completed. Preparation for tomorrow begins before today's work fully ends. This habit appears everywhere. In villages. In workshops. In fields. In homes. The future is always quietly considered. A baker prepares grain for the next morning. A fisherman repairs a net before sleep. A farmer examines tools that may need attention. Small preparations today prevent larger problems tomorrow. Inside a pottery workshop, warm afternoon light filters through the doorway. Rows of completed vessels stand waiting. Some are drying. Others are ready for use. The potter studies them carefully. Each piece reflects hours of work. The shaping. The smoothing. The firing. Every stage required patience. A single mistake could ruin the result. But today has been productive. The workshop feels peaceful. The labor complete. Dust hangs lazily in shafts of golden light. Outside, the village continues its gradual shift toward evening. Children return home carrying small bundles or jars. Animals are guided toward shelters. Neighbors pause to exchange a few words. The atmosphere feels relaxed. The urgency of work has faded. In its place comes a sense of quiet accomplishment. A woman walks toward the river carrying empty clay jars. Others are making the same journey. The riverbank becomes a place of gathering as daylight begins to soften. People fill containers with water needed for the evening and the following morning. Conversations drift through the air. Simple discussions. Family matters. Work completed. Plans for tomorrow. The Nile listens quietly to it all. Its surface reflects the changing colors of the sky. Blue begins blending with gold. Gold begins blending with orange. The transformation is slow and beautiful. No one stops their entire day to watch it. Yet everyone notices it. The evening light touches everything differently. Palm trees glow softly. Mud brick walls seem warmer. Fields become fields of gold. Even the dust along village roads catches the sunlight and shines gently. A fisherman pulls his boat onto shore. The day's work has ended. His catch is modest but sufficient. The river has provided what it could. Nearby, another fisherman sits repairing a damaged section of net. His hands move steadily. The task requires little thought now. Years of experience guide every motion. Repairing equipment is as much a part of fishing as catching fish itself. Much of life in Egypt follows this pattern. Maintenance. Preparation. Care. The visible work often depends upon many invisible tasks completed beforehand. As the sun lowers further, cooking fires become more common. Thin trails of smoke rise into the evening air. The smell of bread returns once more. Warm. Familiar. Comforting. Throughout the valley, meals are being prepared. Simple ingredients transformed through patient effort. Inside one home, dough is pressed and shaped. Inside another, vegetables simmer slowly. Elsewhere, fish cooks over glowing coals. Families begin gathering. Children return from chores. Workers arrive from fields. The household slowly comes together again. The evening meal holds a special place within daily life. Not because it is extravagant. Most meals remain simple. But because it marks the transition from labor to rest. For a little while, the demands of work are set aside. People sit together. They talk. They eat. They share the events of the day. A father describes conditions in the fields. A child speaks about helping carry water. A mother discusses preparations for tomorrow. The conversation flows naturally. No one hurries. The day has already demanded enough effort. Outside, the western horizon glows brightly. The sun approaches the edge of the world. Its light spreads across the valley in rich shades of amber and gold. The Nile becomes a shining ribbon stretching through the landscape. Birds move toward their resting places. Their silhouettes cross the colorful sky. The air grows cooler with every passing minute. A welcome relief. People breathe more deeply now. The temperature finally begins releasing its hold. The village settles into a gentler rhythm. The sounds of labor fade. The sounds of evening emerge. Laughter. Conversation. The crackle of fires. The distant splash of water. The rustling of palm leaves in the breeze. Everything feels softer. More peaceful. The day is drawing toward its close. Yet nothing ends suddenly in Egypt. The transitions are gradual. Morning becomes afternoon. Afternoon becomes evening. Evening becomes night. The rhythms flow naturally into one another. Like the river. Like the seasons. Like life itself. The sun finally nears the horizon. Long shadows stretch across fields and roads. Golden light covers the valley one last time. Workers finish final tasks. Families gather more closely. The Nile continues its endless journey beneath the changing sky. And as darkness slowly prepares to return once again, the ancient routine that supports Egypt carries forward, calm and steady, into another quiet evening beside the river. The sun finally slips below the western horizon. For a few moments, its glow remains behind, painting the sky in gentle shades of amber, rose, and deep gold. The colors stretch across the Nile and settle softly upon the water. The river reflects the fading light like a polished mirror. Across the valley, people pause without fully realizing it. The transition from day to night is one of the most familiar moments in Egyptian life. It arrives every evening. Yet it never feels entirely ordinary. The heat continues to fade. The air grows cooler. A breeze drifts along the riverbanks and through village streets. After a long day of labor, the change feels welcome. Workers returning home walk a little more slowly now. There is no need to hurry. The most demanding tasks have been completed. The fields can wait until morning. The workshops are closing. The marketplaces are nearly empty. For the first time since dawn, much of the valley begins to rest. A farmer reaches his home carrying a simple wooden tool across his shoulder. Dust clings to his sandals. His muscles ache from hours spent beneath the sun. As he steps through the doorway, he enters a world very different from the open fields. The sounds become softer. The pace becomes slower. The day's labor remains outside. Inside, family life takes its place. A clay lamp flickers in one corner of the room. The smell of fresh bread fills the air. Children sit nearby, speaking quietly. The farmer lowers himself onto a woven stool and allows himself a moment of stillness. Moments like this are small, easy to overlook. Yet they are deeply important. A civilization cannot be built by work alone. People need rest. They need family. They need simple evenings that provide comfort after difficult days. Throughout Egypt, thousands of households experience similar moments. The details may differ. The homes may vary in size. But the rhythm remains remarkably familiar. Work. Return home. Eat. Rest. Sleep. Begin again. Outside, twilight slowly deepens. The bright colors of sunset fade into softer shades of blue. The first stars appear overhead. Tiny points of light emerging one by one. Children notice them first. They point toward the sky. More stars appear. Then more. Soon the heavens begin filling with familiar patterns. Generations of Egyptians have looked upward during these same quiet hours. The stars become companions. Reliable markers in an ever-changing world. Farmers know them. Boatmen know them. Travelers know them. Night after night, they return. Steady and dependable. Much like the routines below. Near the river, a group of fishermen finishes securing boats for the night. Ropes are checked carefully. Nets are gathered. Equipment is inspected. Tomorrow's work begins with tonight's preparation. This understanding appears everywhere in Egyptian life. The future is shaped by actions taken today. A repaired net catches more fish. A maintained canal supports healthier crops. A properly stored harvest lasts longer. Small efforts accumulate. Over time, they become the foundation of stability. One fisherman sits beside his boat and begins repairing a section of damaged net. The task is quiet. The evening air is pleasant. The river moves gently beside him. There is no rush. Darkness is settling in. The work can continue at a comfortable pace. Nearby, another fisherman watches the stars reflecting upon the water. The scene feels peaceful. Almost timeless. The river has witnessed countless evenings like this. Thousands upon thousands. Generations have come and gone along its banks. Yet the Nile continues flowing. Unchanged in its steady movement. Back within the villages, evening meals are underway. Families gather around simple food prepared from the day's labor. Bread remains at the center of nearly every table. Beside it may be vegetables, fish, dates, or other modest foods. The meals are rarely extravagant, but they provide nourishment. And more importantly, they provide togetherness. A child describes something learned during the day. An older relative shares a story. Someone discusses tomorrow's work. The conversation moves naturally from one subject to another. Outside, neighbors speak across courtyards. Friendly voices drip through the cooling air. The village feels connected. Not through grand institutions, but through countless relationships built over years of shared routines. People know one another. They work together, trade together, celebrate together, endure difficult seasons together. Community grows from repeated interaction, one ordinary day after another. As darkness deepens, clay lamps become more visible. Small points of warm light appear throughout the settlement. Their glow spills gently through doorways and windows. The lamps illuminate only limited spaces. Beyond them, darkness waits. Yet the darkness does not feel threatening. It feels familiar. Night is simply another part of the daily cycle. A natural companion to daylight. Inside a workshop near the edge of the village, a craftsman finishes one final task before resting. The room is quiet now. Most workers have already gone home. Only the faint light of a lamp remains. The craftsman examines his work carefully. Satisfied, he sets the piece aside. Tomorrow it will receive further attention. For now, enough has been done. He extinguishes the lamp and steps into the evening air. The stars greet him overhead. The village greets him with soft sounds of family life. The workday is over. Along the Nile River, traffic becomes less frequent. Most boats have reached their destinations. A few late travelers continue moving through the darkness, guided by experience and familiar landmarks. The river reflects moonlight now. Silver patterns spread across its surface. Reeds whisper whenever the breeze passes through them. A bird settles among the tall grasses near the shoreline. The landscape grows quieter with each passing hour. Somewhere farther north, a merchant prepares for sleep after a long journey. Elsewhere, a farmer checks animals one final time before entering his home. In another village, a baker begins making plans for the next morning's bread. Though the day is ending, tomorrow already exists in people's thoughts. The cycle never truly stops. It simply turns. The strength of Egypt lies partly within this endless continuity. The annual flood arrives. Fields are planted. Harvests are gathered. Food is stored. Children grow. Knowledge passes forward. The same essential routines continue across generations. Many people living beside the Nile never travel far from home. They may never see distant cities. They may never meet important officials. They may never witness great ceremonies. Yet their labor matters deeply. Every field tended. Every loaf baked. Every net repaired. Every record written. Every jar shaped. These ordinary acts support the larger world around them. The great monuments that later generations admire do not stand alone. Beneath every stone lies the work of countless people living ordinary lives. People who woke before dawn. Worked beneath the sun. Returned home tired. Shared meals with family. Slept beneath the stars. And repeated the process again the next day. Night continues settling across the valley. The moon climbs higher. Its pale light touches rooftops, palm trees, and riverbanks. The village grows quieter. Children have fallen asleep. Conversations become softer. Fires burn lower. A sense of calm spreads through the settlement. The day's demands have finally loosened their hold. For a few precious hours, people can simply rest. The Nile continues its slow journey through the darkness. Water flows past sleeping villages, past silent fields, past boats secured along the shore. The river never sleeps. Yet somehow its steady movement feels comforting. A reminder that some things endure. Some things remain reliable. The stars shine overhead. The breeze moves gently through the reeds. The ancient valley settles deeper into night. And all across Egypt, ordinary people drift toward sleep, gathering strength for another day within the quiet routine that helped their civilization flourish beside the eternal river. The night grows deeper over the Nile Valley. The last voices from the villages become quieter. Cooking fires have settled into glowing embers. Clay lamps burn with smaller flames, their light gently fading inside homes where families have already begun to sleep. The river continues flowing. Slowly. Quietly. The sound of water moving against the shore fills the darkness. It is a sound familiar to every person who has lived beside the Nile. A sound heard by children falling asleep. A sound heard by workers resting after long days. A sound that has continued through countless generations. The valley is calm now. But the calm does not mean the people have stopped living. Even during the night, small routines continue. A guard walks slowly along a path near a settlement. His steps are careful. His eyes adjust to the darkness. The village behind him sleeps peacefully. His work is simple. To remain awake. To watch. To notice anything unusual. Hours may pass with nothing happening. Yet his presence provides comfort. Many forms of labor in Egypt are quiet like this. Important, but rarely celebrated. The guard continues walking beneath the stars. The same stars that farmers see. The same stars that fishermen see. The same stars that have watched over the Nile Valley for ages. The night sky is wide and endless. Without the brightness of the day, the world feels larger. The desert beyond the river becomes a dark open space. The villages become small islands of warmth and human life. The Nile remains the center. The source of movement. The source of food. The source of connection. Even at night, the river shapes everything around it. A small boat rests near the shoreline. Its owner has finished his work for the day. The wooden sides of the boat are worn from years of use. Small repairs show where time has touched it. But it remains strong. Like many things in Egypt, it survives through care. A boat does not last forever without maintenance. Neither does a home. Neither does a tool. Neither does a community. People understand that survival depends on attention. A roof must be repaired. A wall must be strengthened. A field must be watched. A canal must be cleared. A net must be mended. Small acts of care protect larger things. This understanding becomes part of everyday life. Inside another home, an elderly man lies awake for a short while. Sleep does not arrive immediately. He listens to the quiet sounds around him. The breathing of family members. The faint movement of the wind. The distant sound of the river. He has lived through many seasons. He has seen years of good harvests. He has seen difficult ones. He remembers when his hands were younger. When he walked farther. When he worked longer hours. Now he spends more time resting. But even in old age, he remains connected to the rhythms of life. He advises younger workers. He shares memories. He passes down knowledge. Every generation has a role. The young carry energy. The old carry experience. Together, they keep traditions alive. As the night continues, the temperature becomes cooler. The air is pleasant. The heavy heat of the day feels far away. This is one of the gifts of the desert climate. The contrast between day and night is strong. The sun can be powerful. The night can be gentle. People have adapted to both. Their homes reflect this understanding. Mud brick walls help protect against the heat. Small openings allow air movement. Simple designs create comfort without complexity. The homes are shaped by the environment. Built from the materials nearby. Made by hands that understand the land. A house is not only a shelter. It is part of the daily rhythm. A place to prepare food. A place to rest. A place where knowledge passes between generations. A place where tomorrow begins. Far away, a group of workers sleeps near a construction area. Their bodies are exhausted after a long day. The ground beneath them is simple. Their sleeping arrangements are modest. Yet sleep comes quickly. Physical labor brings a deep tiredness. Their muscles relax. Their breathing slows. They are surrounded by the quiet sounds of the night. For these workers, tomorrow will bring another day of lifting, carrying, shaping, and building. But tonight, they rest. The ancient world was not only a world of work. It was also a world of recovery. The body needed time. The mind needed quiet. The night provided both. Near the river, reeds move gently in the breeze. Small creatures move through the grass. The moon reflects on the water. The landscape feels peaceful. This peacefulness is easy to miss when thinking about ancient history. People often remember rulers, monuments, and great events. But most lives were made of ordinary moments. A mother preparing bread. A farmer checking water. A fisherman repairing a net. A child learning a skill. A family sharing an evening meal. These moments filled most days. And most nights. The success of Egypt was not only found in its largest achievements. It was found in the thousands of small routines that continued without interruption. As midnight passes, the deepest silence arrives. The village is almost completely still. The streets are empty. The workshops are dark. The markets are quiet. The fields rest beneath the stars. The Nile continues moving. There is something comforting about this. The river does not need attention. It simply continues. A reminder of the natural cycles that shape life. The moon travels slowly across the sky. Time moves forward. Soon the first hints of morning will appear. But for now, the valley remains wrapped in darkness. A baker sleeps before another early morning. A farmer rests before returning to the fields. A fisherman dreams before returning to the water. A scribe rests his tired hands before picking up his writing tools again. Every person prepares for another cycle. Another day. Another set of familiar tasks. The future arrives quietly. Not with noise. Not with sudden change. Simply with the gradual turning of the world. A little more light. A little less darkness. The stars begin to fade. The eastern horizon becomes slightly lighter. The Nile reflects the first signs of dawn. A new morning waits. The same morning that has arrived for generations. The same morning that will bring bread, labor, water, trade, and movement. The ancient routine continues. The valley awakens again. And as the first birds begin to call softly from the reeds, Egypt begins another day beside the river that has carried its people through time. The night returns quietly over the Nile Valley. The fields rest beneath the stars. The villages become still. The last small fires fade into gentle embers, and the warm glow inside the home slowly disappears into darkness. The river continues its endless journey. Soft water moves along the banks. Reeds whisper in the breeze. Palm trees stand quietly beneath the open sky. Everything feels calm. Everything feels settled. For generations, the people of Egypt lived by this rhythm. They woke with the light. They worked with the seasons. They followed the river. They returned home tired beneath the evening sky. Their lives were built from simple moments repeated again and again. The sound of grain being prepared. The smell of fresh bread. The feeling of cool water after a long day. The weight of tools carried home. The quiet conversations shared with family. The gentle relief of rest after work. These were the small pieces that formed a much larger story. The story of a civilization beside a river. A civilization shaped not only by rulers and monuments, but by countless ordinary people whose names disappeared with time. The farmer who cared for the soil. The fisherman who watched the water. The baker who prepared the morning meal. The craft worker who shaped useful things with patient hands. The scribe who carefully recorded daily life. The families who continued their routines through changing seasons. Their days may have seemed simple, but together, their efforts created something lasting. The Nile still moves quietly. The same river that carried boats. The same river that watered fields. The same river that watched over homes and villages long ago. The stars above remain silent. The desert wind still passes gently across the land. And somewhere in the quiet of the ancient world, another evening settles just like this one. A worker rests. A family sleeps. A village becomes silent. The river continues flowing. There is no need for grand endings. No need for loud moments. Only the peaceful turning of time. The ancient valley grows darker. The sounds become softer. The night becomes deeper. And beside the Nile, beneath the endless sky, the old world slowly drifts into sleep.